got on there. Good afternoon and welcome to the School District of Osceola County's scheduled ERP implementation workshop for Tuesday, April 2026. It's going to be led by Peter Thorne, our Chief Information and Technology Services. Dr. Shanoff, would you like to get us started with anything?
Before we begin, I do want to send it over to our General Counsel, Ms. Corin, for a brief announcement, and then I'll kick us off.
Thank you, Dr. Shanoff. An executive session for litigation will be held immediately after this school board public
Could you hit your mic? Thank you.
Yes. An executive litigation session will be held immediately after this school board public meeting for case AC versus Osceola County School Board DOA case number 26-974E. The session was previously published on April 2nd, 2026. Attendees include myself, Sarah Wallerstein-Corin, General Counsel, Dr. Mark Shanoff, Ms. Terry Castillo, Ms. Beth Zaida Garcia, Ms. Jolene Shive, Ms. Heather Cahoon, Ms. Paula Bronson, and the court reporter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Corin. Very excited about today. I can say that this moment is several years in the making. Even before I came on board as superintendent, the school district started the process of looking at replacing our enterprise resource planning system with something that was a little bit more modern and or a lot more modern. So through Mr. Thorne, Dr. Green, Ms. Graber, who are the executive steering team of this particular project, and a host of other folks that have been critical to the mission to this point, and partners, external partners that have worked with us to get to this point. We're very excited to bring to the board the implementation plan for our ERP. So with that, I can't say enough about how professional Mr. Thorne has been through this entire process. This is perhaps the largest undertaking that any CIO will ever experience in their career. And lucky for us, Mr. Thorne is leading the way. So at this point, I'd like to go ahead, turn it over to him. He can take us through the implementation that we have planned for this process. So, Mr. Thorne, it's all yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me? How's that? Okay, that's a better start. Thank you so much. Board, thank you for being here today. Also want to thank Dr. Shanoff. Thank you for that vote of confidence to kick us off. Also want to thank our core team is here. So the core team will be instrumental in making sure that this implementation goes off without a hitch. I also want to thank our partners who are also joining us today. We have partners from RSM, our internal auditor, Plant Moran, who helped us with the writing of the RFP and the evaluations. And of course, CGI is here today. So thank you for being here. And all of my directors who have been instrumental in making sure that this goes forward properly and smoothly. So thank you. So let's go ahead and start. We are here for to review the implementation for the ERP system, our Enterprise Resource Planning System. Currently, we use a system called Terms that we've had since 1998. So it is a little bit antiquated. So we are going to be putting something more modern in, and that system is CGI Advantage. I'm also controlling the clicker. Okay, so why are we transferring our Terms ERP platform? So a variety of reasons. The first and foremost, it's going to be a single integrated platform. Currently, our systems are spread across our landscape, our technology landscape. This is going to bring them into one cohesive system. It's going to be cloud-based, no longer on premises, and that's going to provide us with a number of advantages. First and foremost, security. That is key. Security, The actual maintenance of the system will be performed by the vendor, by CGI. We will no longer have to do any of that work that we currently have to do now on our current mid-range platform that we have in the data center just down the hallway. And then CGI, in partnership with us, we would be going live. Our target is July 1st of 2027. So it's a very aggressive target. So to go down some of the bullet points, like I mentioned, we currently operate multiple disconnected systems. They're legacy systems. We will become more modern by doing this implementation. It's going to consolidate our finance, human resources, and payroll and budgeting systems into one platform. As I said, it's cloud-based, which is going to reduce infrastructure burden. So that's going to reduce the burden on our IT staff as well as our partners. And then this was board approved following an extensive market evaluation. So I want to specifically thank Plant Moran. They were our partners, as I mentioned earlier, in this journey. Started off with us in 2024 and helped us along the way, make sure that we wrote the RFP correctly, that we did our site visits correctly, that we did our interviews properly all through that process. And by the way, if you have questions as we go along, you can ask them as we go or save them to the end, okay? Because I know you will have questions. So what does this comprehensive ERP encompass? And what are the integrated systems that we have? So it's going to encompass financials, which is our general ledger and chart of accounts and other accounting systems, our procurement systems. We're going to have a robust, modern vendor self-service system being put into place. It's going to replace our performance budgeting, HR and payroll. We're partnering with CGI's partner called Workiva that's going to allow us to do budget planning in the future. And we're also partnering with Cornerstone. Cornerstone's going to replace our current recruiting and onboarding system and our current learning management systems. And then we will have finally advanced procurement, reverse bidding, and things like that a lot of systems today just can't do and we could not do with terms. So CGI, let's talk about them. What they cover currently 1.5 million plus students with their systems. So I wanted to get across with this slide that they are entrenched in the K-12 world currently. 1.5 million plus students, over 180,000 employees they support, over 80 plus bargaining units or unions, and over 2,200 schools throughout the country. Those are the folks they support currently, and we'll be adding to that with our staff and employees, students, and school sites. So another shout out to Plant Moran. So what did they do with us during this process early in 2024? They made sure that we were on the right track for what we wanted to do with the replacement of our term system. So they made sure that within our RFP, we were modernizing our business processes. So that's really the biggest part of this. One of the biggest advantages to this process. Currently, we have legacy business processes that have been developed over time since 1998. Plant Moran and CGI, Plant Moran actually helped us map our current state processes, which I will get into a little later. But they showed us the efficiencies that we're going to be able to gain by moving to a new system from our current legacy system, which is terms. They wanted to make sure that we were going to develop a user-friendly system that empowers departments. So right now, we operate in what's called a green screen environment. There's no mouse-driven graphical user interface. It's all character-based. It is just not modern looking. It's all menu-driven. So you go down the screen, 1, 2, 3, 4. So like when you run payroll, for example, it's a host of menu items that you do. And folks don't really put in any thought to what they're doing. So With this system, you'll have to do that. We're eliminating paper-based workflow processes. So that one of the key reasons we're replacing this system is for our digital transformation. I've talked about digital transformation in the past. We started off with our Kronos systems replacing paper. If you remember that from many years ago, that was the beginning of that process. This is going to continue that process, eliminating paper throughout the district, which is huge for us. This system's going to enable real-time access to our data and reports. Right now, when a department wants something, they have to go to information services to ask for it, like a new report, a new query, or something like that. This is going to allow the end users and the departments to do this on their own. Sorry, Jonathan. Putting you a little bit out of business. So, yes. So this is going to improve efficiency of district operations. We're going to reduce or eliminate redundant processes. And again, this goes back to what I talked about earlier about best practices. So we know what our best practices should be. CGI already has a host of best practices. We're going to meld those together as we stand this system up. And we're going to improve and simplify data analysis and reporting at every level of the operation. And we're going to eliminate conflicting information and what we call shadow systems. So right now we have spreadsheets all over the place in this district, and we're going to corral those and bring them into this system the best we can. Okay, so procurement timeline, just a little bit of history here. We started this really in late 2023, got really rolling in 2024 with this process. We did an RFP. We also did an RFI later on during that year where we had our vendors come in to show us what they had so we could get a taste for what's going on because we had been living in a green screen world for so long. Really, we had to see what was out there. So these vendors responded, did an RFI for that. We made our selection we got RFP responses in early 2025, made our selection late 2025, which was CGI, and then we began the contract negotiations, which were very, very intense, took about 4 months to complete. We actually brought in an external intellectual property attorney, thank you, Sarah Corin, and worked with Sarah and ourselves and made sure we had an ironclad contract. That contract's over 200 pages. And it protects us. And now we're here. We are now here. We're doing this kickoff. We're doing the workshop today. We're actually kicking off on Friday, April 10th. So this Friday, we're kicking this system off with the entire group. And then we'll begin from there. And we have a very, very aggressive 15-month timeline. Very aggressive. And I'll talk about in a little bit what's beyond that timeline. Here we go. So what's the approach? So CGI has a tried and true approach and methodology for how we're going to implement this system. So they have 4 phases. The first one's called Orchestrate, and that is the umbrella for the entire project. The first phase, and the one that's critical is the first 3 months. It's called the alignment phase. That's going to establish functional and technical groundwork for this process and for what we're doing. We're going to go back through all of our requirements. We have almost 1,000 requirements from our RFP that we're going to verify, validate, and make sure that either we can implement it and configure it with the existing base system or come up with some workaround if we can't. So one of the things I loved about CGI is that they didn't answer that they could do everything 100%. So that said a lot to me. And the things we can't do, we will find ways to do it, okay, using our best practices. The next phase is called deliver, and that's really the meat of this, is where we start standing the system up and configuring it to make sure that when we get to our go live date that we're ready to go. And the final phase is achieve, and that is where we go into a final 3 months of testing and user acceptance testing, making sure we can run payrolls, for example, making sure our data has been converted properly. We will not go live. I want to repeat this. We will not go live if we cannot run a parallel payroll. We will not do that. We're not going to put our staff in any kind of jeopardy when it comes to their paychecks. So we want to make sure that a parallel in terms is run and that the parallel that's run in CGI matches before we go live. We've built in 5 parallel payrolls into this process. Three that are normal, so the final 3 payrolls in June, in May and June, will be run in both systems. And then we're going to simulate what's called a retroactive payroll twice. And what that is, the retroactive payroll will allow us to make sure that when our union contracts are approved and we have to go back 7 months in time, for example, and pay the retro pay on that they match. So we're going to make sure that happens. So a little bit more in depth about these phases. So like I said, orchestrate is the umbrella. So that's the governance we're putting in place, the project management, the organizational change management, and the architecture of the system. We're making sure that that's in place for the final 3 phases. The first phase, and the one I think is the most important for project success, is alignment. We're going to make sure that everyone's familiar with the system again. So it's been months and months since folks have seen CGI. So we're going to reintroduce them to that system, and that starts next week. Right, Kim? Next week is when we're starting that? Okay, good. That's my project manager, by the way. That's Kim Lewis. So we're going to do familiarization. We're going to re-verify our current state, okay? The way we're running things today in terms. We're going to verify that. We're going to go through product walkthroughs. And then one of the things that I forgot to mention earlier that Plant Moran helped us do was not only did they help us map our current state, the way we do things today, they also helped us map the future state with our best practices that we want to see. And those are the best practices that we're going to meld in with CGI. And they have that ready in our project plan to go. So we're doing that future state analysis again, just verifying it. We're setting up our environments. We're going to have 4 environments with this system. We're going to have a production environment that we run from every day. We're going to have a development environment, a testing environment, and then a sandbox where we can look at future releases without affecting the current system. And then the alignment, we're beginning the chart of accounts mapping for finance. So we have to make sure that's the basis of everything. We need to make sure that that is solid and good. The next phase is deliver, and you'll notice it's a wheel. It's our continuous improvement wheel. So I used this analogy the other day. Think of this as like a tree that's growing and growing and growing. The branches are coming outward, and the system is being built as we go. So that tree is growing over about a year period. So during that time, we're configuring the system. We're standing it up. I'll talk about that in a little bit about how we're going to do that. But we're delivering the system. And we're testing conversions and things of that nature. We're looking at all of our interfaces, our reports and our forms that we currently have in terms, making sure that we have approximations of that in the CGI system. And then the final phase is achieved. Like I said, that's going to be formal testing. In-user training, we're going to make sure we're ready. Readiness. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Deployment of additional features of the system, and then post-deployment support, which I will also talk about shortly. Any questions about this? This is a critical piece here.
Pete, can you remind me what the payroll system is?
The current payroll system?
The one that we're moving to?
Oh, it's CGI.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not, okay.
It's all
asking-
integrated.
It's all integrated. I'm
Yeah.
asking because CGI does not own Cornerstone, right? That's a partnership?
That's a partnership, but
Okay.
yeah, Cornerstone is not doing the
Workovia
payroll.
as well. I know, it's an
Okay,
LMS.
Okay, yeah.
I know what
Okay.
Cornerstone is. I'm asking
I'll
because
shut
I'm
up.
trying to
So-
figure out what. No, you're fine. I'm asking because I'm trying to figure out what is owned by CGI and what is a partnership. So Cornerstone and Workovia are partnerships.
Partners, yes.
Everything else is going to be managed in-house by CGI.
That is correct.
Thank you.
But CGI and Cornerstone and Workiva are like this.
Okay.
So even to the point of having their own support systems. So like if there's a ticket or something that we
So
have to-
CGI, if there's a ticket for LMS, it will be done through CGI's team.
Yeah, we can
Got
do
it.
that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, moving along. So here's a different view of the implementation. So like I said, this is going to be an end-to-end platform transformation from terms to CGI in 15 months. Very aggressive, but we can do it because we have a great team. Right, guys? Yes. All right. All right. So we're doing that. A little louder, but that's okay. Yeah. This continues a collaborative partnership with a shared vision and community with CGI, with RSM, with Plant Moran, and all of our partners. I'll talk about this in a second, but this system and the implementation is going to provide flexibility through our agile principles. We're building those principles today. That's being stood up. And then, like I said earlier, we're going to confirm payroll processing is accurate. We are not going live if payroll is not correct. We will not do that. All right, and then a quick timeline overview where we're in the alignment phase starting on Friday. And then there's a little bit of overlap with deliver, overlap with achieve. And then you'll notice July 1st, July 1st in 2027, which is our fiscal year 2028, we begin something called hypercare. As part of our contract negotiations, CGI normally does 3 months of hypercare. We're going to be doing a year's worth of hypercare with them, which means we keep that project team intact, which is going to be critical for us because we're going to form relationships with CGI over time and get to know folks. And we're going to want to keep them on site for at least a year. So I strong-armed them during the contract negotiations. Right, Zubair? Yes, sir. So, okay. To make sure that we have a year's worth of support because we're going to be on the phone with them. There's going to be things we don't know. We need to be protected and cared for during this process. They probably would have gave it to us for free. I don't know. So, all right. This is the scary slide, right? So I just want to make that clear. So right now, 40% of all K-12s in the country still use legacy systems, like us using terms. 40%, that's a lot. That's a lot of districts. So of the ones that decide to go to a new system, to a modern ERP, 50% of those fail. So we are not going to allow this to fail, right, guys? That's right. That's right, because we're a team. We're not going to allow this to happen. But you may ask, well, that's nice to say, but how are you going to do that? So there are principles we're going to follow. Strong executive leadership, starting with the board and Dr. Shanoff on down through the executive steering team. Strong executive leadership. We have that, and we're going to use that. Clearly stated requirements and objectives. I already told you all, we have over about 1,000 requirements that were in the RFP. So and they are clearly stated to make sure that we can move forward properly. We're going to have structured, and we do have structured change management. And when I say change management, I mean organizational change management. How are we going to communicate this out on a daily basis? I will get to that. We're going to have a frequency of communication for this project that we must meet. We're going to have a skilled and dedicated project team. We already do. We're doing business process improvement. We're not going to re-implement terms inside of CGI. We're not doing that. There's just no way. And I've said that from day one. We're going to look at what are the best practices for K-12. CGI knows what they are. We know what we need as a district. We're going to meld those together. And then we're going to have effective vendor management of CGI, and make sure that they hold to what they said. And we're going to focus on data quality. We've already begun that process. We are sending data out to each of the data owners for them to validate their data. to make sure that we're ready to go, ready to go. So how do I know, or how do we know we're doing this correctly? We are working with our internal auditor, RSM. Thank you for being here. It's been fun, so working. But Dr. Shanoff, what's wrong? It has been fun. So I made you laugh. Okay, thank you. It's a little much. No, so I really do want to thank RSM. They are doing oversight for us as a project group. So I can stand up here and say, hey, we're going to replace our ERP, and it's going to take 15 months, and then it ends up being 21 or 31. Who knows, right? So to make sure that doesn't happen, they are providing oversight to make sure we are ready to go. We are ready to go. And the next couple of slides will show that. They've evaluated our needs and did a goals analysis. They evaluated our current systems. They made sure we had our process mapping in place. They're making sure we're doing proper stakeholder engagement. Who's responsible for things during this process, right? Dr. Shanoff's responsible for everything, right? So, and then they want to make sure we have a proper change management plan in place. So what was assessed? So they've already done most of this assessment, and I'll show you the results in a second. So they needed to ensure that we had the proper governance and decision-making authority. So if something's not going right, who will the person go to say, hey, you need to make a decision? So instead of dithering, we decide. So a lot of this is going to fall on the executive steering team, made up of myself, Sarah Graber, and Dr. Green. And again, I want to thank Ms. Graber and Dr. Green. They've been instrumental in working with me on this project. From day one, I said, this is not an IT project. This is a community project with us at the district. We are working together. RSM also did a requirements readiness assessment. They did a data readiness assessment. Technology, are we ready from a technology point of view to do this? Yes. And then organizational change management. They looked at each of these areas. I won't get into the exact detail here, but strengths, the district is well positioned. We're ready to go. Their actual assessment is the district enters this implementation better positioned than most. So I like to hear that. I am waiting on a score though. So I'm gonna get a number between, well, it won't be an A+, but yeah. It's a number though between 0 and 5. So I'm looking for a 5. So yes, so the better position than most, we have known risks that are being tracked and will surface to leadership when the time comes. We do have a couple of open items, but they're not going to affect the start of the project. We will get these taken care of. So I talked about earlier, the first 3 months are critical in this implementation. So we're gonna have the project kicked off, like I said, on April 10th. We're gonna make sure that the cloud environment is set up and ready to go, especially our development environments. And we're gonna start playing around in the system and making sure that we can get the things when we need to, that everyone can sign into the system. That's critical. So that we're gonna lean on technology services for that. We're gonna be doing the requirements validation, as I mentioned earlier, of those 1,000 requirements we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be doing an analysis that compares the district requirements against CGI Advantage again to make sure that we're aligned. And then we're gonna begin the initial prototyping of the system. So I wanna talk a little bit about that bullet item. There will no longer ever be programming. We are not gonna be programming our ERP system ever, the actual core system. It's only going to be configured, only configured. That way, we're always on CGI's base system and we will not be modified. Our current terms legacy system has been modified since 1998, and we could never, well, the vendor doesn't exist anymore, by the way. So we have to maintain it ourselves. But if we were to ever go back to their base system, it would be impossible. We couldn't do it because we took that system. Again, it was the Y2K, if you remember that. I'm old enough to remember Y2K. So it was the Y2K compliant version of their system. And we took it, they gave it to us for free, and we ran with it. And it is what it is today. So.
Can you help me
Yes, ma'am.
better understand what you mean by the difference between programming versus configuring? So the way I understand it is what you're saying is we're not going to be modifying the system, the ERP system. We're going to work with a configuration that is provided to us by CGI.
Yes. CGI is very highly configurable. Configurable to the point that they're going to be able to address our best practices that we want to have the system do. Now, there are some things we will be able to do in the system. We're going to be able to write reports. We're going to be able to write queries. We're also going to be able to create our own forms that we need for the business to run. We have to have that. And we're also going to be able to move things around on the screens. So that's not really programming, but they call it extensibility. So we're going to be able to, say accounts payable doesn't like the way something looks on a screen. During the configuration process, we will be sitting with Cindy and her subject matter experts, and we'll be able to rearrange that screen the way that she wants. So that's the extent of it, and that's what they call extensibility. So no programming at all, except for we will be writing reports, probably in SQL Server, which is a language. And we'll be doing integrations. We have to build integrations to other systems. So for example, we're going to have to integrate the system with Focus, our student information system, because we have to send employee data back and forth to that system. So that's going to be an integration we build in conjunction with CGI. We built into the contract quite a number of integrations that they're going to help us with, but it won't be all of them. So folks today who are programming in COBOL to maintain terms will be shifting their responsibilities to integrations, reports, forms, and other things.
Thank you. Can you help us better understand why we don't want to have a system that is highly programmable?
Sure. So when you have a system that is, and I don't want to get too technical here, but when you have a system that's been programmed highly and had many, many, many different changes, and I will tell you over time, Terms itself has had over 4,000 changes done to it. So keeping track of that is a Herculean monumental task. You end up having to build your own tools to do it. If the vendor isn't around, you're in big trouble, and our vendor is not. So we've had to enter contracts with Harris Corporation, who took what was the remainder of that system to maintain it. So they don't do daily maintenance, only if there's an emergency. Only if there's an emergency. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Castillo, another thing about an overly programmed system is essentially single generational. So you can't necessarily, when those changes go in, it's very difficult to create any sort of continuity in understanding on how the system runs without making more programmatic changes when the next person comes in to fill the seat. So it doesn't end up becoming something sustainable because the programming changes essentially rely on whoever actually executed those changes to keep those going. And that isn't particularly good for sustainability. It actually builds in additional risk factors.
Thank you, sir. More questions?
I do have questions about the cloud system, but I don't know if you're going to address that later.
Okay. Well, we have some time at the end, if I don't. All right. So the first 3 months are critical in this process. So what is our governance structure? As I've talked about earlier, it starts with the board and the superintendent for strategic oversight and final decisions like the go live. Are we ready to go live? Then it goes down to the executive steering team made up of myself, Sarah Graber, and Dr. Green. We are 3 so that we can make decisions. 4, you would not be able to make a decision. There could be ties. So there's 3 of us. And then it flows down to the project teams, our district business process specialists, our subject matter experts, and our CGI specialists who will be with us from the start of this project. So how are we going to do this? So just a little bit about terms. Terms right now, when someone asks for something, they do a request, say for a report, or maybe a change to a screen or something like that. That has to be approved. We gather requirements, and then we do the programming. It could be any amount of time later that we deliver the final result, which may or may not be correct, right? And sometimes we have to go back to the drawing board. So that's not efficient. That is just not efficient. And that's called waterfall processing. So we're getting away from that processing environment and that methodology, and we're going to something called Agile. So Agile, I showed a slide earlier today. It was a continuous improvement wheel. So that is what Agile is, continuous improvement, and we're going to do it in 4-week sprints. So we're going to gather requirements. We're going to concentrate on different areas of the system and start standing it up. So those sprints will start, like I used that analogy earlier, a small little tree, and it's going to grow into a giant elm, okay, through these sprints. So 4-week sprint cycles, we're going to meet daily as a team in each of the different areas. And as we configure the system, it builds in testing. It's a natural byproduct of what we're doing. It's going to be tested as it's being stood up. And then I have some additional bullet points there. SDOC and CGI, we're going to operate as one integrated Agile team. We're also going to have Agile managers as part of our environment, and they're going to direct and orchestrate these sprints as we go.
May I ask a question about the sprints, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So during the 4-week sprints, are we standing up specific aspects of the ERP? So we'll stand up financials, continuous improvement, test it, and then we'll stand up the next.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And a lot of these will be done in parallel, different areas of the system, right? So we may be working on financials, we might be working on payroll and accounts payable, maybe HR, all at the same time.
Okay, so the system is not going to be stood up in parts. It's all going to be in tandem. What we mean by sprints is the teams that are responsible for standing up those specific areas will be testing during that time.
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
It's not linear.
Okay.
It's not going to be linear. It's going to be done in parallel. So we decided on 4-week sprint cycles because it fits very well into the timeline. So that's what we want to do. And like I said, we're going to have a continuous testing philosophy. We're going to test, learn, and we're going to test again until the end user is satisfied that we're ready to go in those areas, okay, as it gets configured. Will it be 100% by the time we say it's ready? Not necessarily. So we don't want something that has to be perfect to stop this project. We're not going to do that. We're going to configure as much as we can, and then if we don't have something, it's going to go on what's called a backlog. Then we'll revisit it later on in another sprint, okay? And just keep it going. We're not stopping for anyone or anything as we stand the system up. And then the Agile approach, it's going to promote accountability, transparency, and scalability while maintaining our governance that we have over this project. That's a lot to digest, I know. Here's just a quick view of one of the Agile ceremonies that we'll be doing. It's not a marriage ceremony, it's Agile ceremony. You didn't laugh. All right, so we start with our sprint planning. We're going to look at our backlog initially. Then we have daily stand-ups where we see where we're at and we continue that process. Sprint review, and then once we're finished, we do something called retrospective, and then get it off of the books. We're done. And then go on to the next one. I talked earlier about communication strategy across our stakeholders. So this is very, very important. How are we going to do organizational change management? So it's going to be based on frequency. We have daily frequency, weekly, monthly, and milestone based. So daily will be project teams as they do stand-ups and talk together. They're going to talk together. Weekly will be project leadership, and our project management office will sync with our status and with CGI. Monthly is the executive steering team, which is the three of us. We're going to give progress reports. Monthly is the school board itself. And then milestone based, we need to make sure that not only is the staff understanding what's going on, but the community is too. We're also considering maybe doing a newsletter monthly for this project. So I think it's a good idea and we want to do something like that.
A question regarding the monthly updates for the board. Are these going to be in our agenda items, or are we going to have access to additional data?
So that's a great question. So it would be what you feel is necessary. We could do the monthly board update,
Okay.
saying where we're at with the ERP, or it could be a little more formalized as like a newsletter or maybe some other vehicle that you want to see the updates on.
Yeah, Ms. Castillo, we visualized putting it into the board member updates that we provide you every month. Mm-hmm. But if there's another way, another mechanism that you want that pushed out, we can do that.
No, it's fine. It says dashboard, and I'm like imagining a dashboard with numbers, but I don't think that's what that is.
We could do that. So,
Sounds
because
like a
we could
lot
tell you
for one person.
We could give you statistics about how many agile ceremonies have been completed, how many sprints have been completed, maybe where we're at on the standing up of the system with a progress bar, perhaps, something like that.
I think initially, I will defer to my board members. I only asked a question because it says executive dashboard. And I'm like, is that a real dashboard that I can sign on to?
It doesn't exist today.
Okay.
But it could.
So it may also be... It may also be where the data resides that ultimately gets reported out. So even though the dashboard itself may be dynamic, and we can definitely provide you a link to that, the board update obviously will be kind of whatever that snapshot is in time.
I will defer to each of you for what you want to see and what Dr. Shanoff wants to see also. Any other questions about communication? As I said earlier, communication and organizational change management is key to the success of this project. And we will probably ask the board sometimes to do some sort of communication about this too. And here's our approach, some of our organizational change management approach. We're going to have a change champions group. So we envision having individuals at each school and department who are championing this project, who are our evangelists for it. So that's really what we want. We're going to be doing stakeholder impact analysis and making sure we're ready for the communication. So stakeholder and change impact analysis identifies the groups that are going to be affected, assesses the readiness level, and develops strategies to address those. And any type of resistance. There could be resistance to this project, although I think everyone's on board, especially in the core group. We're on board for this. We're ready. But we're talking about folks who have not been made aware of this quite yet. We want to make sure that they're ready and will accept that change. And we're going to work in tandem between ourselves and CGI. And then we want to make sure the communication strategy delivers consistent messaging. We don't want there to be messaging, from the different frequencies of communication. We want to make sure it's the same. And then the Change Champions group are going to recruit influential staff to champion this transformation. All right. I also want to mention I talked about this earlier, but the go live sustainment provides hypercare support. So that's that year after we go live. So that's going to be key to this also, because things are going to continue to change. Even after we go live, it's not like it's a static system that it stops at that point in time. That just is not going to happen. We're going to continue to stand the system up and build on it as we add new modules, new functionality. We're going to have regulatory changes that occur. We have to make sure that those are put into the system. All right, and again, this is the OCM, or Organizational Change Management, by phase. So we have the alignment phase, the deliver, and the achieve. So the alignment, which is about to start on April 10th, we're going to identify our stakeholders. We already have identified them. Identify the change impacts. We're going to develop a change impact analysis for them. Develop the change strategy plan, and develop the communication plan, which we've talked about just a bit ago as far as frequencies are concerned. Then during the delivery phase, we're going to execute that plan. We're going to develop our OCM strategy and plan, develop the change champion strategy and plan, and launch those teams during the delivery phase. Let's see, we're going to begin training, and we're going to develop the sustainment plan for after we go live. And then achieve, we're going to execute that sustainment plan going forward.
I obviously have questions about
Yes, ma'am.
training.
Yes.
Okay, is the training going to be conducted by our internal team, or is that CGI coming in? And what does the training consist of? Is it behavioral change? Are we training on the systems? Who's taking care of that? How do we know people are successful?
Right. So obviously we'll start with CGI, and there'll be a transformation and a transfer of those duties to internal folks.
So like
as
a
time
T3?
goes. What's that?
Do like a train the trainer. They'll train our folks, and then our folks will train the rest of the team.
Right.
Okay.
Which is why it's critical we have the change group that I talked about. Those evangelists are going to help us with that. We also have other folks internally who are going to assist, our business process specialists, our subject matter experts, and so on. We'll be all involved in pieces and parts of that process.
I'm
going
particularly interested, and we do not have to go over this right now. What does that training look like? So, for example, you do a train the trainer, and then those folks are training folks and their teams, whatever schools. How do we know that that knowledge transfer has happened? Is really what I'm interested in. Again, we do not have to go over that, but I'm really interested in that.
There are a variety of ways we can assess that, and we'll make sure that's built into the plan. It could be as simple as looking at the number of tickets that are coming in from a certain site who over and over are asking the same question, for example. Or it could be actual folks going out and delivering that training and keeping track of that metric. Making site visits, we could do that too, to make sure that the systems are in place. So there's a variety of ways we could do that. You don't look convinced. So
I'm interested to learn more.
okay, you will.
Yes,
You will.
thank you.
So I think I know what you're asking, and I think that is definitely something for the team to consider, is really kind of understanding when folks have kind of reached the competency milestone after training takes place. So do they have to demonstrate a particular competency before we then kind of turn that on outside of the sandbox environment? So I think that is that where you were headed? Okay.
There won't be any tests. So we're not going to test people, I don't think. We could, but.
I think it's more along the lines of understanding how to utilize all of the various features of a particular environment within the system, and them being able to practice on that and essentially knowing where to click and where to enter things.
Sure.
And if it is imperative that entry be as accurate as possible, then it may include some level of competency
Senior
proof.
assessment. Yeah. So thank you. That is exactly what I'm concerned about. And I'm sure I know y'all have it figured out. I just would love to understand more, because this is where I feel this is where those 40% or 50% of schools or whatever failed, because we can have all the systems in place and be perfect. And I know you will. We're doing agile. We got project teams. We got dashboards. But if the folks that are using the system either don't know how to use it correctly, don't feel comfortable using it correctly, you have to think, we are thinking about, because I know you are, think about the fact that these folks have been using the same systems since I was in high school, literally, and I'm in my 40s now. This change management, this understanding of how this new system is going to work, adult learners are going to freak out. They might be nervous about it. So I do want to see what the training plan looks like. That's especially important to me. And I'm positive I know you have it. It's just one of the things that for me would be important to understand, because I feel like that would be the point where folks would be like, this is a risk factor if I'm thinking about what could go wrong. This right here to me feels like it could be if it's not executed correctly. And I know it will be, by the way. I'm not doubting. It's just something I'm interested in learning about.
We hear you 100%, and we will we'll put together a sampling of that training process and how that will work. Okay? Thank you. These are great questions, so thank you. Thank you. So what are our guiding principles for the implementation? Again, we've kind of touched on them and on different slides, but team members that are committed to the project. We're all committed and will be committed at some point. Strong executive sponsorship. You got that, Joe? Okay, nice. So you didn't laugh, Dr. Shanoff. You're smiling, but you didn't laugh. So I want to be committed with you. So yes. So well-defined project roles, team-wide alignment. Again, that's about organizational change management. Engaging all the departments or we call them agencies, but departments and schools, and all stakeholders early. We want to make sure that happens. We have a shared culture of proactive and accurate, transparent risk and issue management. We're going to take care of things early. We're going to stay on the baseline. We want that 15-month implementation to happen. And then we're going to test, refine, learn, and test. That's part of the agile process. We're almost done, I think. We're getting closer. So what's the strategic value of CGI? Number one for me, it's governance. Everything's all in one place. It's the governance of the system. Technology. Technology is going to be improved tremendously. Technology services is being removed from some of that equation and it's being put onto the vendor. Data security, it's going to be secure and stored in the cloud. No longer are we going to have data on premises flying around everywhere. So it's going to be in the cloud. And then financial value. We're going to be streamlining our processes and using best practices to make sure that we have the most efficient system in this state. In this state, we will have the most efficient system. And again, this is a little hard to read, but these are benefits and strategic value based on our board rules. So we wanted to make sure that there was an alignment there between the board rules and policies and what we're doing here with the ERP. I will not read all those. But there's a lot of them, and that was just 5. There are many more. Next steps, and what is the board's role? So, what's the importance of school board governance? Establishing strategic alignment and accountability. So, you are the first line of defense. Everything you say, we must do, right? Everything you say, we must do. You provide fiduciary oversight and fiscal stewardship. Are we spending our money wisely? You approve enterprise level policies and business process changes that may relate to this project. Ensuring, and in fact, I feel pretty confident that there's going to be changes that occur because of this system that we're going to have to write into board policy at some point. That will have to happen. You're going to ensure strong project governance and decision escalation, monitor risk management and internal controls, support the change management and organizational readiness of this system, provide oversight during critical milestones. For example, I mentioned this earlier, go live. We're not going to go live on the system without your approval. That's not going to happen. So you're going to come to me and say, and to Sarah and Dr. Green, did you get a proper payroll? Did we parallel payroll 3 times correctly? And we're going to say yes, and hopefully you'll say, well, go live, and we'll do it. And we will transition away from terms at that point. And then we're going to reinforce post-implementation performance and benefits. We're going to realize those benefits, and we're going to report that to you. Immediate next steps, April 10th, as I've mentioned many times. And we will provide you with an update, the first update in May, about where we're at with this process. This is a long-term commitment. Even though we go live July 1st, 2027, we're going to have this system 15, 20 years into the future. Because this system is scalable. It's going to scale to our size. Who knows how large this district will be in 20 years, right? It's going to be gigantic. We could double in size, right? Staff and students. We're going to put Orange County to shame. So those are fighting words, right? Fighting words. So long-term commitment. So CGI and us are going to be together for a long, long time. Hope that wasn't on camera. Oh, it was. Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry, Orange County. Community communications, you're going to play a vital role in those communications regarding this project. And then, so my conclusion, I'm going to read out the conclusion. So a strong school board governance ensures our CGI Advantage implementation is not viewed as just a technology project. Remember I said that earlier, this is not IT for IT. This is for a better experience operationally and business-wise here at the district. Not viewed as a technology project, but as an enterprise-wide transformation. This is going to affect every department in school when we do this. That protects the public trust, which you have sworn to, strengthens financial controls, and enables long-term operational excellence, because it really is all about excellence. Not perfection, but excellence. Oh, anything else? Maybe questions? Look at that. You know, I landed this in exactly an hour.
Oh, I have questions.
Oh, okay. Of course you do.
Sorry. Wait, actually, yes, of course I do. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. This is about data security, which I asked this question when I met with you and Sarah, but I just want it to be a discussion in front of everybody else in case nobody asked about it. So the concern that I had when I initially looked at this deck was regarding where SDOC's data was going to be stored, right? So we're going to a cloud system. Our data is not going to be on premises. It's going to be on your servers, right? And so my question was about how do we ensure that we have the best security for our information? You did give me the answer. If you can just review that, please.
Yes. So there is very stringent auditing requirements in this contract. We at any time can go and audit their data, audit our data that's stored on their systems. We're going to get yearly SOC reports from them to make sure that the auditors are satisfied, our internal and external auditors are satisfied with the data systems and the servers where this information is stored, that it's being protected properly, both physically and electronically, so that those systems are being protected. So we will get that level 2 SOC reporting, it's called, from the vendor,
but
from CGI.
Our data will be stored in a separate server, or did you tell me that it was sliced off from everything else?
It will not be commingled in any way.
Okay, so that's what I was
We have
concerned
our
about.
own, what's called instance systems. We'll have our own instance with development, production, sandbox, and testing. We'll have our own instances with that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The location of the data.
In the United States. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that is important. Yes. Thank you. Everything's stored in the United States.
Okay, thank you.
We worked really hard with our IP lawyer to make sure that all of the data was secure, all of the protections were in place. We worked very hard with our IP attorney to make sure that all of the data is secure, it's in the United States, and that we have the protections that we need to make sure that we not only are protected, but also that we have the backups and that we will be secure and that we can get back online when we need to.
We also were very, very clear about our AI data that's going to be going into the system, that it's also protected properly. So we are getting an AI. It's not a chatbot. It's an actual agent. It's called Samantha. Not sure why they called it that, but I still haven't gotten an explanation, Sabir. So anyway, it's called Samantha Plus. Plus, yes. So we have that system. And so what's the plus part of it? We're going to be able to train our own models, our own agentic models, AI models for this system, which is very important. We can put our own data into it. Otherwise, if we just got Samantha, it'd just be the canned stuff that they have, which would do us no good. So we need to be able to train that model to be what SDOC needs. And that'll be an ongoing process. Yes. You can. Okay.
I mean, the AI, we talked about the training model. Clearly, it's going to be trained with our data.
Yes.
So how often I'm getting up to date with AI, I understand the basics. So if I'm asking a question that doesn't make sense, please forgive me. So often are we going to train and retrain the agent? Because one thing that I've noticed with agents I've used is that if you don't train it, it starts to become, I need to find a better word than what I'm looking for, give you
Stale.
slop, if you will, right? It starts to
Stale,
hallucinate because it's not trained on data outside of itself.
Right.
So how often are we going to be training and retraining Samantha?
We're actually going to have we're going to have a district person who's going to be training that model constantly with training materials.
Got it.
And questions and answers and so on. So that's going to
Got
be
it.
a continual process.
Okay.
And policies and rules.
Sure. Yeah. That's a great question. So, thank you.
I don't have questions, but I just want to say thank you because Friday it was late and you answered all my questions. And my biggest concern was communication and training to our staff. I just want to make sure that they are aware and the timing is perfect. And thank you to the staff. I know he committed you publicly, but this is fantastic that you're here. But thank you for everything you do.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Other questions?
Real
All right.
quick, I want to commend Mr. Thorne. First of all, thank you for the presentation. Well done. You did a great job. And I think that you represented the team very, very well through this presentation and the work that's been done so far. And I think you also represented our external partners, RSM, Plant Moran, and CGI very effectively through this presentation as well. The reason why this is so vital is because it's one of the few things that we do that actually marries processes and functions on the back end with the front end experience. And we just don't see that very often. Usually things are exclusively back end or exclusively front end. They don't really kind of coexist. And so that's what drives up the risk factors. And that's what makes this so daunting. I've had the opportunity to work in districts where ERP implementation was a colossal failure. That's not the district I was CIO in, by the way. And then I've seen a fully formed ERP that is over 20 years implemented and working very effectively. That was the district I was CIO in. But I think that the important thing is that Mr. Thorne has learned significantly through his network that what works and what doesn't work. And his extensive background, and then everybody who has worked within the system that we've had that sits in this room, and even those that don't sit in this room, really understand. They also understand kind of what the risks are as well, because we've had to do so much programming. Not just the people in the room, but the people who have come before them. And so I think that this is going to be a great process for us. I think we're built for this. I think we're built for this transformation. I think that what we've seen already with digital transformation within our district has been overwhelmingly positive. So digital transformation when we went to one-to-one, overwhelmingly positive. Digital transformation when it came to the data transformation with student achievement, attendance monitoring, everything kind of aligned with the strategic plan, overwhelmingly positive. Placed a lot of visibility into things that maybe we didn't have visibility in before. A lot of the folks that are in here are responsible for that work as well. I have no reason to believe that this isn't going to be another one of those accelerators for us. And so I'm immensely proud of Mr. Thorne and the entire team, and everybody that went on the visits to other districts around the country to actually see how implementation was working. All the folks that sat in all of the meetings that got to this point. And then, this coming Friday is really going to be, it's a kickoff, but it's also a culmination of one chapter of this process and the beginning of another. So us getting to the end game for this part of the process is a tremendous achievement. Just getting to this point, it's been many years in the making, and I think 18 months from now, we're going to be super excited about where we are, and it'll be a whole different look that will be exciting for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.